I often get asked about the chain coupler that goes back here on the back of a hydropower and over under on most Olivers. And well, first thing we need to do is make sure everything's lined up good to extend the life of all that. One of the biggest things I see is guys using 1/2-inch bolts in all four corners of their Waukesha engines. The other makes engines have different setups, but on these, this corner here under the starter is a 1/2 inch, and then the opposite corner up front is 1/2 inch. The one under the injection pump is a 9/16, and so is the one on the back corner on the other side. I've got both the bolts, the 1/2 inch bolts in, and even with that, it's not lined up enough to get the 9/16 bolts in. So you can already see how the engine, if you use 4 1/2 inch bolts, there's the other one. 4 1/2 inch bolts can, let's see if this one will drop in. I mean, they're a fairly snug fit because they're alignment bolts. That one ain't even thinking about it. So I'll get my drift punch and try to finish lining them up so I can get them in place. Usually it takes just a little tapping. Let's see, I'm trying to feel if I can fish which way. It feels like it's got to go forward just a skosh. I try to catch the end of the punch on the hole, the edges. This makes it a little tougher with this hoses in the way and a long punch. That doesn't feel too bad. Still sounds pretty solid though. I'll take this bolt I've got laying around just to feel. Oop. There, now I can feel it. I'm just a little far forward. I can catch the motor mount on the frame of that bolt just a little bit. Oh, no, I'd need to go forward a little more. I'm thinking backwards. Okay. So I feel with my little bolt. I'm catching on that just a skosh. So I need to pull it towards me just a hair. I felt it move. And it must have slid back a little when I did that. How that is. I don't feel too bad. See if we can get her started. Oh yeah. Yep, got the thread part in. Then we're down to the shoulder, which will tap in like that. And just got to do the same thing on the injection pump. Okay, I've got all 4 of the bolts in, including the dowel bolts, the 9/16 bolts in their proper place. I don't have them tightened down, but they should be, they're in, and the dowel bolts were a good snug fit, so the engine should be where it's gonna be. And what you're looking for to make sure, the biggest thing is the height on these is the same. On a 15 and 16, it doesn't usually seem to be an issue because the bell housing actually bolts into the block and that keeps everything lined up good. But your 1750s and 1850s with the Waukesha, you got this plate in between, and none of the bolts actually go into the block from the bell housing. They all go through the plate, and the plate is bolted to the bell housing. So then that plate can kind of sag a little because of the weight of the hydropower or over under. And so what you do, this is an 1850 diesel tub. Usually it's not an issue with these either, but some of them have the holes drilled in, some don't. But you run a bolt up through one of these holes, and it's best to put some kind of steel plate on it, and I drill a little divot in it so it stays on the bolt to support the bottom of that hydropower over under. And then you can adjust this bolt, and you'll want to, well, that one's all the way up, but you'll want a long enough one where you can put a jam nut on it so you can set it once you get it in place. But then you can use that bolt and that plate to raise and lower the unit until the sprockets line up vertically. That makes a big difference on how well the chain goes on, and also how long it lasts, and whether or not it's as likely to come flying off. So it can be done on the 15s and 16s. Like I say, generally they aren't as much of an issue because the bell housing bolts into the back of the block and it supports it better. Cast iron to cast iron, a little less flex. But if it needs to be done, that's what you do. So I slide these couplers as close together as I can get them, and then just feel along there to make sure the height is the same. If it's higher, it's probably because there is a plate in there underneath your unit. But if it's lower, you just run that screw up a little bit until I don't get any special tools out. I mean, basically, if it's finger close where you can feel they're the same height, you can check for side to side. There's not much you can do about that. If you got all your proper bolts in place, they should be lined up good. This one feels like it is. Like I say, I'm not sure what the heck you'd do if it wasn't, because them dowel pins, bolts, get her locked in side to side pretty good once they're in. Normally on a 1550 and a 1650, even a 1600, you can pull the engine without taking the coupler chain off. We got this extended rear coupler that Maybachs make. I'll throw a number on the screen, but they weld an extra, get a little better light there. They weld an extra piece of coupler on the back because there's usually unused splines on the input shaft, and the part that was used on this one was worn. And so that gives us about another inch of splines, good splines, plus the old worn splines to use, rather than pulling the hydraulic unit and spending the big money on and work and time putting in a new input shaft on the transmission. This is a quick, easy fix. First time I've used one, so we'll see how it turns out, but it looks good. There are aftermarket sprockets out there, and you know, if your tractor's just gonna be in parades and little things like that, an occasional plow day or something, but it's not something you're really ever gonna work again, I guess the aftermarkets will do, save you a few bucks, but I've gotten nothing but poor reviews out of them myself. I haven't ever tried any, but the metal is not as hard and they just wear out a lot quicker, and so we're going with the OEM, original equipment manufacturer. There's the chain part number 107417AS. Partially doing it in here to show how to put one in the tractor, but also that longer coupler is just enough longer where you can't get the engine in and out with the chain coupler on. So, but small price to pay for saving some money on replacing shafts and a lot of labor. See if I can find a good spot for this. All right, let's get a chain on there. Needs to be a little bit of space between those couplers. Now either a hydropower or an over-under should be able to turn in the normal direction of the engine. And this chain's going to be loose enough to walk right back off, I think. Sometimes you can get them to stick and walk around. This can be a bear on a front wheel assist tractor because the transfer case is right under there, so you can't reach up from underneath. Yeah, this one just followed on or kept walking off. So I'll slide underneath and get it on there. Always use the original pins that came with the chain. They are much harder than your normal pin. They should be stainless if I remember right. I guess I could get a magnet out and test them. Average cotter pin. I'm just getting the small ones in. They both go on the same side, like so. Run them through a end piece, and then we'll see about putting them in. On your larger frame tractors like 1750s, 1850s, to gain the little extra room you need to get with these pins, once you make sure your coupler is lined up good, you can take the engine bolts out and slide the engine forward on the pads, the inch or so that's there, and that gives you enough room to get around the back side to slip these babies in. I might have to come around from the other side. Maybe I'll do this from the underside. Oops, I missed. One and two. There, I didn't miss. Now we'll roll her around top to get the rest of it on, which you can do like so. Okay, we're back up top again, and I want to make sure the heads of those cotter keys in the back there are facing the direction the engine turns, which from the top is that way. So that head is good because that's the strongest part. The small pins are facing this way with the head right here, which is the way we want it because the chain turns that way. So we can draw them back up. Put the other link in. If you need more room on this, if you happen to be doing one with front wheel assist and there's a transfer case under there, there's no reason you can't pull the boulder mount bolts back out and slide the engine ahead like you would on a larger frame tractor to get you a little extra room to work behind. The real bad one is the 1600. This cutout right here is not there. This whole area is covered, which under normal circumstances, you can just slide it off the shaft with the engine and the hydropower. But if you buy that extended coupler, that takes up that extra room, and that is no longer an option. There, just need to bend the ends. Guess there's no reason a person can't turn that light back. Guess there's no reason a person can't put the long one in the back and the short ones in the front. The biggest thing is to have the head on this end here in the direction of travel. They seem to hold up better that way. And there we go. Coupler is all installed. Pins are in. Heads are on the right side, which is the left side if you're sitting on the seat. She's ready for many years of use. And that's the basics of doing a chain coupler. Hope this helps, and thanks for watching.